What are the coronavirus symptoms, and how do you protect yourself? The CDC has answers, and you're not going to like them one bit. America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. The number of U.S. coronavirus deaths and infections continue to rise. In fact, by the time you're watching this, that headline will probably be outdated. So now might be a good time to ask, what exactly are the symptoms of the coronavirus, and how do you protect yourself? Well, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the symptoms are fever, cough, shortness of breath. That's totally not helpful. That's how I feel after spending too much time on Twitter. Okay, so how about this? How can we protect ourselves? The CDC says the best way to prevent illness is to avoid being exposed to this virus. Are they messing with us? So basically, the symptoms of the coronavirus are the same as the flu, and the way to protect yourself is basically the same way you avoid the flu. Don't get exposed to it. Okay, here's some actual advice. Wash your hands often and for at least 20 seconds. Don't touch your face and avoid people. Avoid Twitter too. That won't help keep you from getting the coronavirus, but you'll feel a lot better. The CDC is also telling people not to buy face masks. Instead, face masks should be reserved for medical staff working with infected patients who are much more exposed to the virus and who are trained in how to use them properly. The public is not listening. The U.S. Federal Reserve just hit the coronavirus panic button. Well, actually, CNN framing it like that is hitting the panic button. The global economy is suffering from the coronavirus outbreak. I know you were really concerned about those bankers and businessmen making a profit. What the Fed actually did was cut interest rates by 0.5 percentage point. Now, it was an emergency rate cut, and that hasn't happened since the 2008 financial crisis. Rate cuts typically give a short-term boost to the stock market, except stocks tanked despite the Fed's rate cut. Because, investors thought the Fed was panicking, so they panicked too. This is why the news makes me feverish and short of breath. Speaking of those symptoms, you may remember I reported about a man who was charged $3,270 for diagnostic tests for the coronavirus at the hospital, and it turned out he had the flu. Luckily, he had insurance, which meant he only had to pay $1,400. Well, some good news. At least in New York, insurance fees for coronavirus tests will be waived, which is too bad for the guy who owes $3,000. He lives in Florida. I guess that's at least two problems he has. The CDC is asking U.S. colleges to consider canceling foreign exchange programs and sending foreign exchange students back to their home countries. But if you're worried that the coronavirus might interfere with all the fun of the 2020 election cycle, which also gives me fevers and a shortness of breath, don't worry. President Trump says it's safe to hold rallies, unless that's an elaborate plot to get Democrats infected with the coronavirus before the election. Then again, Trump does love hosting his own rallies, too. And one Democratic congresswoman from Denver did seem to like the idea of spreading the coronavirus at a Trump rally. Don't worry, folks, she was just being sarcastic. Trump is also using the coronavirus as a renewed cry to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. In a White House briefing, he said, "The coronavirus shows the importance of bringing manufacturing back to America so that we are producing at home the medicines and equipment and everything else that we need to protect the public's health." Since most medical equipment and generic drugs are made in China, the U.S. and the rest of the world faces major shortages as the coronavirus spreads. Another reason we're short of face masks. But at least the coronavirus battle is getting an extra $100,000. Trump is donating his entire Q4 salary to the Department of Health and Human Services. I actually didn't know this, but apparently Trump has been donating his entire presidential salary each quarter since taking office. Previous donations have gone to, among others, the Office of the Surgeon General to help combat the opioid epidemic, the Department of Homeland Security to help build a wall on the southern border, and to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism to help combat alcoholism. If only he would donate $100,000 to pay off my student loan debt. Actually, I would still be in debt. Around the world, the coronavirus is hitting hard. May I just remind you, this is because the Chinese Communist Party tried to cover up the spread in the early days of the outbreak, instead of openly dealing with it. The cover-up is what allowed it to get so bad. South Korea has declared war on the coronavirus as cases inside the country approach 5,000. Meanwhile, in Iran, the top advisor to Iran's supreme leader has died from the coronavirus. The coronavirus is so bad in Iran, they've canceled Friday prayers in major cities. Now, Trump has certainly been at odds with Iran, but he's taking this opportunity to make it clear he would totally help Iran out. They just have to ask.
If we can help the Iranians, we have the greatest healthcare professionals in the world. And if we can help the Iranians with this problem, we are certainly willing to do so. We would love to be able to help them. And all they have to do is ask. We will have great professionals over there. We have the best in the world.
Which is to say, we can help you, but most importantly, America is the best. In some non-coronavirus related news, the Trump administration is putting a cap on the number of personnel Chinese state-run media operating in the U.S. can have. According to the Wall Street Journal, it's in retaliation for years of tightening restrictions on American news outlets by Beijing. The four main state-run media outlets operating in the U.S., Xinhua News Agency, China Radio International, China Global Television Network, and China Daily, will need to cut their total number of Chinese nationals working for them from 160 to 100. I can't wait to see how the Chinese Communist Party will retaliate for the retaliation. I hope it's by saying, "You're right, America, that's totally fair." China has stolen billions, possibly trillions of dollars worth of U.S. intellectual property, which is probably why they want to run the United Nations World Intellectual Property Organization. This is the 5th time China has tried to get its candidate into its leadership position. But once again, the Chinese candidate was defeated, this time by a Singaporean. I guess China will have to settle for the 4 other UN agencies it leads. In case you're wondering, those are the International Civil Aviation Organization, the International Telecommunication Union, the Food and Agriculture Organization, and the UN Industrial Development Organization. I bet I'm not the only one with a fever and shortness of breath now. And that's it for this week. Take a moment to subscribe to this channel before you go, even if you already subscribed, because YouTube has apparently been unsubscribing fans with no notification. And if you'd like to support this show, go to patreon.com/AmericaUncovered to learn more. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.